Cool. Hello guys, welcome back to Unit 4, but it's week 5 at UCI. And today, there's no slides, thank goodness, because we already know what's going on. We already know when the due dates are. You already know what you guys should be working on, which is everything is on the course portal. And by now, up to this day, you guys should be like well-rounded with what you're supposed to do every week now. So let's get ahead, but I will still guide you through this week's unit. So in case you have any other questions regarding to this week's unit. So this week on Unit 4, you will be working on Twitter Part 2. So this this project will consist of working with the same project that you were working on last week. So do not create a copy of it. Do not download it or again and start from scratch. Work on the same repository that you have been working on since last week. So don't make any copies of it. It'll be all in the same project, and same with your README file. You're just going to add this README file on top of the other one that you were working on. Simple as that. And they've updated the videos, so they've modified the tab. So if you looked at this from last week, it's different because they just updated it Monday morning. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on. So we added the videos for what you will be working on this week. You're going to learn how to compose a tweet. You're going to learn how to favorite a tweet and also how to retweet on your own application. So everything that happens in there, it's actually going to work. So I'll show you mine when I did it. But I didn't have to post a tweet because when I did it, we had to do Twitter everything. Instead of 2 parts, we did everything in 1 week. But so that's why they took out the posting a tweet. But essentially, your app should be able to do something like this, where I have my browser with Twitter open, and I will show you some of the functionalities that you will implement in your own app. So in your own app, you're going to be able to go ahead and retweet it and also like them. So once I reload my own Twitter, you can see that it actually works. So you'll be working with something real. It actually affects your Twitter account that you're working on right now. That's just a glimpse of what I did when I was doing it. And thank goodness you guys have the videos too, because when I did it, obviously they didn't have any videos for this. So I had to just go and read the API and figure it out on my own. But thank goodness that you guys will not struggle as much as I did. And this will really help you out with learning step by step how to implement Twitter API. So once you guys do this, I apologize for the README from last week. For some reason, it was not on the assignment tab. It was on the grading tab. But next time, if you guys don't, if you guys don't find the README on the assignment, for example, this one. If you guys don't find this on the assignment tab, then it's most likely going to be on the grading tab, okay? Same with last week. It wasn't on the assignment tab, but it was on the grading. So,
we don't have a grading tab.
Oh, you guys don't have this?
No.
Really?
Only your assignment on that.
Oh. Alright, never mind. I'll talk to the admins about this then.
It was in a zip file.
It was in a zip file? Oh, okay. It was when you guys downloaded the project then. Alright. That makes sense. Well, that's good to know at least. Sorry if you guys got confused about that. I know that some students got confused and weren't able to find the README, so I emailed them the link to it. But yeah, as you mentioned, question?
That's kind of funny though, because when I downloaded the file
Mm-hmm.
and I pushed it to the GitHub, it already had some stuff.
Yeah, so it should have come with README, but
Yeah.
for some reason some students didn't have it.
Oh really?
Yeah. So I'm assuming they probably downloaded it a week earlier because, like I mentioned before, we're updating this right now, and we just updated Unit 4. So if you downloaded Unit 4 last week, and it might not have all the stuff that you need because we've been updating these tabs every week because of the new Swift that came out last year. So that's the reason why. But don't worry, you didn't get any points down if you didn't have the README, because that was a little mistake on our own and also we're gonna help you guys fix it. And don't worry about the lab. They're still working on this. It's actually not complete because it's supposed to come with some things for you to download, like the starter project, but they don't have it yet. They just have the steps, but you're gonna get super lost because there's no videos. It's literally just telling you what to do, but it's gonna be super hard if you try doing it. But it's supposed to teach you animations and gestures, which I will show you later on. But this week we're gonna be learning models, which is basically essentially classes and structures in iOS. So before we start, make sure you guys go on and take your attendance. It's on bit.ly/CodePathUnit4, and the code is models. So if you open this up, this should be the code. And in the meantime, I'm going to open up Xcode. So again, the link is bit.ly/CodePathUnit4. Awesome. So I think everyone's pretty much done. So for today's lab, I actually created my own in-class assignment for you guys today to work with models, and I will show you that later. But for now, let's go ahead and learn models. So open up Xcode, and this time instead of opening an Xcode project, you're going to open up a playground, which is the one on top right here. Get started with playground, and you should be getting something like this. You're going to open up a blank playground. And just save it on your desktop or somewhere nice where you won't lose it. There we go. I'll wait for you guys to have that ready. Question? Yeah, blank project, blank playground. Desktop, yeah. For some reason mine saves it on the main root file. Yeah, so make sure you go on desktop because then you'll be having trouble finding it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, let me just open this up. Where is it? Oh, I forgot to download something. Let me take this over here. And starter. Yep. Where is it? There we go. Oh. You guys have that set up? Everyone good to go? Okay. Alright, so today, let me go down here. Let me go to my notes. So, what? Where's the editor? Oh, here it is. Alright, is that big enough text for you guys? Can you guys read this? Or should I make it bigger?
That's good.
Alright, that's good. So, on Playground, we're going to do a lot of coding today. So, you are not going to do any main storyboard anymore. So, get your gears up, ready for typing. So, we're going to learn about classes in iOS. There's many ways that you can initialize a class, And because there's so many reasons, I'm going to cover the most essential ones that you guys will be utilizing for your projects later on. So today we're going to learn about classes, subclasses, and structs. First, we're going to start with classes. And we're going to construct a simple human using classes. So I'm going to show you how to create a class and how to initialize it in iOS. So you first start typing your class and the name of your class, which in this case is going to be human. And it's going to have a variable of pounds, or in other words, an attribute. And that human is going to have the pounds, it's going to be a double. That's the type. And now we're going to initialize it, create the initializer. So init, and you just put the variables that it needs, which in this case is a double. And to initialize all those variables, you call self.pounds equals pounds. So this should be very familiar to Python if you've taken any. The only difference is that you don't need a lot of the underscore, and then you don't need all that. It's easier. So this is what we call the designated initializer. So in other words, it's an initializer that contains all the attributes of a human. Now let's go ahead and create a subclass. I'm going to create a subclass of human, and I am going to call it superhuman. And this is going to be a subclass of human. In order to tell it that it's a subclass, you use a colon, and then you tell it which subclass is deriving from, which in this case is a human. And the difference between the human and a superhuman, well, let's give it a superpower. And it's going to be a string. And now we need to initialize it, but we're going to add a little extra code that will tell it that it's initializing also the pounds, because superhuman is inheriting pounds from human. So I will show you how to do that. So you do the same steps as before. You need the superpower, which is going to be a string, and then you need the pounds, which is a double. So first, you initialize your local variables within superhuman. So in this case, it will be superpower. So you call superpower is equal to superpower. And then you initialize the attributes that are inherited by human. So now we do super dot pounds equals pounds. Oh, my bad. You do super init and then pounds. And this is self. I forgot that. There you go. So first, as stated before, you initialize the local attributes of your class, of your subclass, which is a superpower. And then you call super. This is saying, hey, initialize it from another guy that I'm inheriting it from. Super is referencing to human, or in other words, the superclass that's above human. And if you guys want to call it and create your own superhuman, well, we can create our own guy. We're going to let Memo be a superhuman. And I'm going to give the pounds, let's give him something normal, like a 159. And for the superpower, I'll just give it code in Swift. So that's our superpower. We just created our own superhuman called Memo. And it takes in the pounds and the superpower, which is coding in Swift. Superpower must precede arguments. Oh. Make sure that they're in order, because if you don't, then it'll give you errors like right now. There we go. Now it should work. And if you run it, you just click down here to run it at the bottom. There you go. So I created my superhuman, and you can visualize it. Oh, I cannot. You can just print it if you want to see what happens. And it'll print it out here. There you go, superhuman. Cool. So that's how we do subclasses. Now we're going to talk about convenience initializers. So let's say that we have a class called milk. So we're creating a class for milk. And I'm going to create the types of things or the attributes that a milk can have. So what a milk can have is it can have a flavor and also a type of fat, right? Like skim milk, 2% or whole. And I'm going to create them here as an enum. I'm going to create the types of fat that there are for milk. So the types of fat are skim, 1%, 2%, and no, I'll just go through whole. That's too much. And I'm going to create the other options for the flavor. And my types of flavors would be regular, chocolate, and strawberry. This is going to be milk flavor. There you go. Forgot to add that. Cool. So now let's go ahead and build our milk class. So the flavor can be any of these three. Oh, not those. This one. It can be any of these three milk flavors. So in order to tell my class milk that I will be using these three types of milk flavor, I just let it know that I'm using a milk flavor. There you go. Oh, and make sure it's a let. I forgot about that. Same with the fat. It's going to be a type of milk fat. Question?
Does that mean that like the type of flavor will never change?
It means that, yeah, it means that it will always be one of these three because we're using an enum. An enum is a way of specifying different options. So for example, when we're logging, I think you guys saw it in Twitter. So it had an enum that were cases, and it had either a success case, which the user logged in successfully, or an error, a login error. So that's when you would use cases. And we're using enum if we're using more than 2 cases. In this case, we're using 3.
Would an enum be different than a struct?
Yeah, enum is different than a struct.
Is it a type of struct, or is it just something? It's just like to list different options.
Enum is just a way of listing options, and you would use structs to build, or classes also, to build your skim milk. And then this case, like let's say that I make a milk that is skim. Skim would have like ingredients used, var type of cows, right? And that's how, but enum is just to like cover up all of these options instead of having multiple structs. So that's the purpose of enum, is just to have options. And it'll also help you in your code. Instead of typing something like you know how we did my superpower, a string? What if you accidentally had like a typo in your string? When you're coding for your server, you're going to use a lot of enums or classes, because you don't want strings at all. You can have a typo and Swift will not tell you if you have a typo because it's a string. A string can have any character in it. But in this case, we're using cases so that it can always autofill it for us, like milk flavor. So that way we assure our code does not have any typos in it. And you'll see how we use it here. So we're going to create our first designated initializer, which is the most basic of all. And as mentioned before, the designated initializer is the one that contains all attributes of the class. So when we initialize the class, the milk class, we have to make sure that we cover flavor as well as the fat. So let's go initialize it. Init, and we're going to have a flavor, which is going to be a type of milk flavor, and the fat, which is going to be a type of milk fat. And to initialize it, same basic steps from before when we created our human. Self flavor equals flavor, and self dot fat is equal to fat. Now we're going to go into convenience initializers. So what do you think makes convenience initializers different? What's an idea that you have in your mind? No ideas? So this is what the purpose of convenience initializers are. What if the person that is buying milk doesn't really care about the flavor or the milk fat? Or maybe they care about the flavor, but they don't care about the fat. In this case, we're going to have to give our milk a default value in case they want to. If they only care about the fat, then we're going to give it the default flavor of regular, right? So in order to create a convenience initializer, we call convenience and then init. And then in this case, let's say that this is for someone who only cares about flavor. Alright, so then in this case, we're only going to take about the flavor because the user or the buyer only cares about the flavor. So we're only going to have a flavor, and what you're going to do here is you're going to do self init. So it's going to use this same initializer, your designated initializer, and you're going to use that initializer to give it a different flavor. And now here's a different part. Fat, we're going to give it a default value. So what do you think should we use for the default value as for milk fat? Whole? Alright, we'll do whole. So that will be our default value for the fat. So we made a convenience initializer, which when you initialize it, it only takes in the flavor. That way, if the user only cares about flavor and they don't care about the fat, then they're going to get to choose the flavor, but for the fat, for the milk, they're only going to get the whole, which is the default value. And let's create another one for someone that only cares about the fat. So I'm going to do the same thing. It's going to take in the fat that the user wants, and for the make sure that it's in order as your designated initializer. So I use flavor first, right? So make sure that you call in flavor first. And for the flavor, we're just going to give it the regular. So I'm going to use flavor is regular. And for the fat, that's where the user gets to put in whatever they want. Only cares about fat. And now what if we have a customer that doesn't care about anything, they just want milk? Well, you can also create a convenience initializer for that. That takes in no parameters, because why? The customer doesn't care about what kind of milk they're getting. So we're just going to do the same thing as the others. We're going to self.init, and for the flavor, we're going to give it the regular, and the fat is going to be whole. Cool. I misspelled regular. But that's the purpose of cases. It helped me detect that typo that I made. I put regulard, and so it fixed it for me to regular. So now we can initialize different instances of milk using convenience initializers. So let me show you an example. So I'm a customer that doesn't like to, I don't care about what I'm going to get. So how would you construct or build a class of milk with all default? Exactly. So let memo milk equal milk, and then you just put parentheses, and that's it. It'll create an instance of milk with default values of regular, and for the fat, it's going to have whole. So that was the purpose of convenience initializers. Because if we didn't have this convenience in it, what would it give us? This would give us an error, because there's no convenience initializers. We need at least either the fat or the flavor. So by having convenience initializers, we get to create an instance of an object without having to put certain attributes that we don't want it to have. So now that we have that constructed, we're going to go over required initializers. So I'm going to create a class fox, and for that fox, it's going to need an age. It's going to be an int, and we're going to do a required init. And we're going to do self.age equals age. So what is the purpose of required init? Required inits are for, as the name implies, it required. If you build a subclass of a fox, then everyone else who is, like, let's say you're working on a project and they're working off on this class as a parent. They're all going to have this required, or else it's going to give you issues. So for example, let me create a subclass of fox. Call it amazing fox, which is a subclass of fox. I'm going to give it a var name string, and actually no, don't give it anything, just so I can show you. If I just put init, you can already see that I'm already getting an error. Super.init age. So I just did what I would normally do when I constructed a subclass. I just call it init. But what's going on here? It's telling me that required must be present. So that's the purpose of required. It'll just notify people who are working with your fox class. They have to follow the rules and require age as one of the attributes. So when would you use this? You would use this like when you're creating a user. For example, every user must have a username and a password, right? So that's why you would do that's when you would do required init when you create users. Why? Because they need a username and a password. And then when would you use convenience initializers? When you put things like address or nicknames or middle name, because those things are optional. You don't need them. So you need to be, but you still need to have some sort of default value. So that's when you would use convenience, and this is when you would use required init. So in order to fix this issue, I just call required. There we go. And now my amazing fox class satisfies the condition for the fox. That's the purpose of required initializers. So there's like 3 more types of initializers, but you don't have to learn them today. I just want to cover the most basic ones that you guys will be the most useful. The other ones are failable initializers, and the other one is optional initializers. So 2 different things, but you guys will not be really implementing it further in your projects. So now we're going to skip straight into the structs. So we learned how to play around with classes. So how do you think we initialize a struct? It's exactly the same thing as classes. So thank goodness for that, right? Because you don't have to worry about anything. So if you were to initialize a struct, you just call struct, and then the name of it, which in this case would be money, variable currency, and this would be an int. Same thing, you init, and then you self.currency equals currency. That's it. Same thing as classes. There's no magic into it. So now what's the differences between struct and classes? Why does iOS have structs if we already have classes? Yeah.
The concept of like private and public variables.
No. What do you think is the difference between these two? So I'm just going to take this out.
There's initializer, constructor.
There is. They both have initializers and constructors. Yeah.
Is there like a similarity of structs in Python?
Python?
Yeah.
No, not that I know. C++?
Yeah.
It does have to do with C++ though. There is something related to it.
Yeah, because in C++, well, in classes, the default variables are private, and then in struct, the default ones are set to be private.
Oh, not that kind though. It's a different one.
Alright.
So I'm going to tell you. Structs, the first thing that's different than classes, there's no inheritance. Structs cannot have subclasses or substructs. That's one. The second one is references versus copy. And I will show you what I mean by that. So let's say that I create a memo fox. And this is going to be a fox with the age of 20. And I'm going to create a Nathan fox. Also be equal to memo fox. What did I just do here? What happens here is this equal sign, it doesn't make a copy of it. It creates a reference. So Nathan fox, whatever happens to memo fox, it's going to happen to Nathan fox. So let me prove that to you. Let me change memo fox's age to 120. And now I'm going to print Nathan's fox age. And let's see what happens. So because it's a reference, what is this going to give me? 120. Yes. So what's the difference between a struct and a class? Part 2. If I make Nathan fox equal to memo fox, and I change memo fox age to 120, since structs copy an object, what is Nathan fox going to be? Just 20. Because structs, if you assign one variable equal to an object, or a struct object, it's going to create a copy of it. It's not going to be a reference. Is everyone clear with those two main differences? Awesome. So those are the main things that I wanted to cover over today. And so now that you've learned classes, how are we going to implement these into our own understanding of like actual iOS? Because this is just a bunch of code. Well, if you guys downloaded the project, the starter project, I sent you the starter project for, what is it called? Simple to do. So if you can open up your email and download that project I sent you guys, I gave you a simple to do app, and I have a couple steps for you that you have to accomplish to complete this project. Let me pop it up for you guys. So the good news, I already created everything for you. So if you go to your storyboard, I've already set up everything that you need to do for this project, but there's one catch. It's not fully completed. So what you guys have to do is, if you go on your note class, you're gonna have to implement the note class, and you're gonna have to create it, initialize it, and after you do that, you're going into your all notes view controller, and you're gonna have to fix up the table view functions so that you can see the notes that you create every time that you save one. And you're gonna implement the functionality of the save button. This one right here. So every time I click on save, I want the notes to be appended to this variable right here, all notes. And then you're gonna use this, all notes, on your table view to retrieve all the notes that you have saved. And make sure that you implement that functionality of the save button right here. So I'll be around. Make sure you guys finish this up so I can verify that you understood classes and how to implement them into an actual project that you'll be working on. So it's 3 steps. They all have the to-do on it. So if you guys don't know where they are, just find the to-do, comment, and that's what you'll be working on. And by the end of this, you will be having something like this. I will show you what it looks like at the end. Oh, what's going on? Oh, shoot. So these are the steps if you guys get lost. The heck? I just need a... Dang it. Alright, now it should work. So in the end, you should be having something like this. You have your starter page, you go into your add to do button, and you can give it the title of like bring groceries tomorrow. And the due date, it should pop up a keyboard. I already implemented that for you guys, which it changes the date of when it's due. And you can go ahead and click save, and once you go back, it updates the note. So, but it's just 3 steps. This is what you guys have to do. Right here. Question?
So with the dates that you
Yeah, it's a string. It's a string. Don't worry.
What did they know?
It should look like. Let me show you. What happened? Oh, you found it?
No, I thought it was on the code path.
Oh no, I sent you guys an email. Yeah, it should be something like this: unit class for material, and it should have a zip file underneath. Mm-hmm. I'll give you guys 10 minutes to finish up, and afterwards I will show you how to implement the class in a more professional development way, because you guys have been doing it all wrong, or I have been teaching you the wrong ways, or in other words, the easy ways. But now I'm going to show you how professional engineers actually do it. So by 5:55, I'll be hitting you guys up. Oh, and I wanted to share some news with you guys. Last week, one of your team members, or not team members, one of your other fellow classmates from Monday session, he went to Slow Hacks, San Luis Obispo Hacks this weekend, and he used iOS, what we've been learning so far, and they got second place. They got money. So, and they followed my tips, which was focus on making it look pretty first, and then make dummy data so that it can look like it works, but don't try to focus on the back end. First make some dummy data so that it can like work with simple stuff, and you can have something that you can present. And sure enough, he did that. He showed me his app. It's pretty cool. It's an app that allows you to look up organizations that are looking for volunteers. And every time that you sign up and you actually go to the event, you get points for like gift cards. It's pretty cool. And they ended up winning. So keep up the good work, guys. You guys are actually learning. I'm happy that you guys are implementing what I teach you so far. Question?
How do we know what attributes a note has?
Oh. So if you look on the model, on your storyboard, sorry.
Okay.
Each to-do has a title, and it has a due date, and a description. Yeah. And I wanted to share you guys this example because in the real workforce, this is how projects go. The team, as soon as you join a team, they're just going to give you what they're working on. They're like, all right, this is what we're working on. Start adding this functionality to it. You're like, oh, shoot. So you got to start looking. I want to show you guys how to look through cues or hints on like, okay, how do I build this? What does it need? How do I implement it? These are some really basic examples that will prepare you for an internship or even a work later on. Five more minutes, and I'll show you how to implement this in a more professional way. Take care, man. Yeah. One more minute. and time. Where were you guys stuck on? Or where were you guys on right now? Part 3, part 2, part 1. Part 2? Part 2? Alrighty. Alright, so let's try to do this in under 5 minutes. So first step, we construct our note. So I'm going to have my to-do title, which is going to be a string, a to-do date, which is also going to be a string, and the to-do description, which is also a string. And now I have to construct my designated initializer. So it's the most basic initializer that you guys can go over. So I'm going to go over to init. It's going to have a title, date, which is also going to be a string, and description, which is also going to be a string. And then we just assign each variable accordingly. So we have the to-do title, self dot equal to title, self dot to-do date equal to date, self dot to-do description equal to description. Cool. So this is what you guys should have had. Yeah.
How do you know like the to-do date is not like an integer and it's a string?
Oh, well, think about storyboard. When you go to storyboard, how do you access the text of the label or the inputs of an input label? You call the .text, right? And what does that give you? .text. It gives you a string.
Even
So-
though it was like little rotating.
Yeah, that whole thing is a string.
But it's like it's a string, but the way you're inputting the data is through just like a little.
Oh yeah, so first what I
It's just
do,
like a UI thing. It's the way.
oh that's just a UI thing.
But the way it's stored as a string.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of complex things that I did for that. What it does is it calls the date keyboard and it gives you a date object. So I had to convert it to a string, but I already did all that for you guys.
Okay, yeah, I was just
Yeah.
concerned as like how do I know if it's an integer or it's a.
Or like a date object or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Assume that it's a, since you're getting something from the input label, if you're getting something from an input label, assume it's always going to be a string. Yeah. So everything, for the sake of making it easy, they're all strings. So now we're going to the next step, add table view functionality. So let's go to our all notes view controller, and in here for the number of rows, that's going to be, if you look at our note class, it's going to be the all notes static variable. So in order to call that variable, you're going to call note, which is a class, and then you're going to access the all notes static variable and the count of how many items that this array has. And similar here, we're going to create our cell, which if you look at our file directory, we have a note cell class with the identifier as always being the same as a class name. So we're going to create a cell, notes table view dot dequeue reusable cell, and the identifier is note cell, and we're going to unwrap it as a note cell. So we have our cell created. Now we need to access the note from the array. So let's call the let note equal note dot all notes of the index path dot row. So that's how we access the individual note. And then using the cell, you access the labels of it. So each cell has a to-do label, to-do title dot text equals to the note dot to-do title. And now you do the same for all of them. The to-do date, is equal to the note dot to do date, and then same for the cell dot to do description dot text is equal to the note dot description. And then you would simply return the cell, right? However, let me tell you something about this way of programming. So I know that this is how we've been learning so far, how to do it, but I'm going to tell you something. You've been doing it the wrong way. This is not how professional iOS engineers create this function. They actually do it within the note cell. So today, I'm going to show you how to do that. So go to your note cell, and we're going to create a variable called note, which is going to be a note object. And within it, you're going to call this function called didSet. What this method is doing, it's the same exact thing as what, it modifies the variable, the labels within the note cell itself, right here in this file. So we don't have to do it on the table view function. So now we can call the to do title dot text equals note that to do title. Simple stuff as the other one, the same exact thing. To do date dot text is equal to note dot to do date, and to do description dot text is equal to note description. Cool. So now, if we go back into our all notes view controller, all we have to do is just set the cell dot note equal to the note. Simple. That's more easy money there. So instead of having to type all the attributes of the cell class, what we did is we're using classes or models to assign it from the functionality right here to make our code way more cleaner and also more understandable. So now if we go to our note cell, you know how back then we would always have these things there and like this file would always be super empty? Well, now you can actually do something to it using classes and models. And now we need to do the last step. Add logic to the save button. So if we go to the note view controller, scroll down to your add note. First, we need to create a note. So let note equal, we need to get the title from the label, which in this case is the note title, dot text, the date to the note date, I forgot the let, and let the description equal note description dot text. Now using these three variables, what do we have to do? We have to create our note object using those three variables. So now we're going to call the note object initializer, and as soon as you type that, there you go, that's what I wanted. Now I can just type in the title, date, and description. Cool. So simple. I got the, oh shoot, there you go. I grabbed the text from the UI labels or the input text fields, which are found in the storyboard. I grabbed the title, I grabbed the note input text field, and then the description. And I grabbed the text from it. And using that text, make sure you force unwrap them, because otherwise it'll return nil. There we go. And now that we have constructed, now we can call the note dot all notes dot append. This is how we save it into the actual array of notes. Still giving me an error. Did I type something wrong? Oh, it's missing a... The heck? Did I delete a bracket or parenthesis somewhere? Where did I mess up? Okay. Okay, now it worked. Probably something messed up there. There we go. Note. If we build this, now it should return there's no error. And don't worry about force unwrapping it, because I already created a function that makes sure that the inputs are not empty. So if the inputs are not empty, then we create the note and we saved it and do all that. So don't worry about that. I already created that function for you guys right here. So let's test it and run it and see what happens. Cool. So we got something empty. That's fine. So let's add a to-do. Finish Twitter part 2. The due date is going to be Sunday, midnight. There we go. Start early. Alright, let's save it and let's see what happens. Cool. It popped up. So we have successfully completed our first little small professionally developed iOS application, and it's a simple to-do app using models. So what's the point of models? Why do you even need them? Well, it's one of the first things that you need to learn for model view controller architecture in iOS. Once you learn model view controller architecture, you are set for interviews, for any kind of interviews. That's what happened to me when I learned iOS and I learned MVC. It was actually the very first question that I received from my Goldman Sachs interview as a software engineer. The first thing that they asked me was, develop a software that handles post-transactions of a trade. So by trade, they meant like the stock market. Like when someone clicks on buy stocks, that's a trade. So the first thing I stated was, okay, I gotta go back to what I learned in Make School, iOS, model. All right, so I told them, well, let's start with our model for a trade. And they were like, okay. I was like, ooh, I'm going somewhere. So I started going on and I further explained, well, each trade has the following attributes for the model. It's gonna have the selling price, the price that it was actually bought at, when it was bought, the date, and how the price that it is right now, if I were to sell it. And they're like, okay, what else? So the next thing I thought was, all right, the views. So I took out a scratched piece of paper and I drew like a web app of how it would look, and they're like, all right, stop, we don't care about that much. So that's when I started freaking out, and I was like, shoot, what do they want then? So the last thing was controller, right? But before thinking about controller, I was sitting there for like 3 minutes blanked and like really nervous about what I should ask, or like if it was worth asking for a hint, because asking for a hint kind of made me feel like if I was dumb or I didn't know anything. But I went ahead and asked them, so what do you mean by the what's next? Like, can you give me a clue? So they said, oh, what's the service layer? What are you going to use for the service layer? I had no idea what that meant, but I tried to connect it with what I've learned back in make school, and I thought, okay, service layer, controllers. What do controllers need? So I already have the back end. I already have the logic. So now I need the back end, right? The server. What am I going to use to store all the data? So I said, okay, I will use Firebase database to store all the information of the customers, all the trades that they used, etc. Finally, after I said that, they were like, okay, tell me more. So I told them more, and I said, oh, well, you use Firebase because it's a NoSQL database. It's faster. I actually used Firebase back in my make school when I made my own iOS application, and I used it because it's real time. It's NoSQL. It's faster than the old SQL PHP style version, and it's just more reliable. In fact, big companies like Lyft, Google owns it. Lyft, Slack, all these companies use it. And then they kept asking me more questions afterwards, like, oh, what's the difference between NoSQL and SQL? And why would you use NoSQL instead of SQL? And then I answer those questions. It's because NoSQL is faster. You guys will learn that later on. But essentially, model view controller, those are the three things that you need for any interview question that asks you about software development. If they ever ask you about developing something, go with that architecture, model view controller. And for your service layer, just do whatever fits them. And within 2 days, I got an offer. Josue was there, so it was really awesome to get an offer from a big company. But that's all you need to know. So you have successfully learned so far how to go and tackle an interview question like that. Now you just need to know how to actually do backend, which you will learn next week with Parse, which is similar to Firebase, but Parse used to be owned by Facebook, but now it was deprecated. But luckily, a lot of engineers were like, hey, we can use this. Like, it's actually useful. So we're going to open source it. So now it's open source, and you guys will be using it to create your own user authentication. You're going to use Parse to store posts on the server, comments, and all that other good stuff later on. And then you will be a full stack iOS developer. So you'll be ready for the workforce. But that's it for today, guys. If you guys have any questions, I'll be here chilling. And question?
When you do your bid set, where'd you put it?
Oh, the did set?
Yeah, because I'm getting the error that
Yeah, man. I'll see. I put it, so I initialized my variable note. And after I create my note, that's when I use the did set using a curly bracket.
I was missing the curly.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But this is letting know what the note is doing, this variable. Any other questions? Robin? In my table view function, all I did now is I assigned the note equal to the note. Cell.note.
Yeah, help me out on here. Why is
Yeah.
Why is it telling me that I haven't it's telling me referencing note before it's declared, and I'm trying to see like where.
Oh, you got the left right here.
Oh yeah.
I had the same error.
Okay.
No.
Oh no.
To do.
Thank you.
There you go. Try it now. Oh, make sure that it's in order. So if you go back to your initializer, oh, it worked. All right.
Yeah,
never mind.
no. What I'm trying to understand, like, how can I reference? This is the class.
Yeah.
This is the class, and
This
it
is
needs the to-do title, the to-do description, and the to-do date, right?
Yeah.
So like, how does it have access to my class here? How does it know this
Through here.
is like a no?
It already knows. This is the beauty of Swift. Like in
because
Python, you would need to import, right?
right.
Here you don't.
Would it be because it's inside like the same project?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly why.
It does like the importing by itself.
Yep. That's why it does it.
And
That's how it knows.
And then Note has like this way of storing like a collection of notes.
Yeah, it's just an array.
Okay.
It's an attribute.
but it's a static variable, so it can be called anywhere. Within the file.
That's weird though because note. I thought it was just a constructor for. I thought it was like a note object itself.
Yeah,
So that
but classes can also be used to store static variables,
multiple.
as long as they're static. That's what I did in the Flex app. I created a Struct API helper, if you notice from the Tumblr labs, and it has a static function. So that function can be accessed anywhere.
Okay, it's like a. It's like a list that's common between all notes.
Yeah, it's like a, what do you call it? What is it called when you use like all capital letters in Python? Like a variable that can be used, a like world variable or global variable. Yeah.
Okay. But like in terms of like the class itself, it would be a global variable like for the scope of the class.
Yeah, it would be like a global variable,
Mm.
but you can't do global variables in Swift. So you have to put them somewhere.
But in here they're called
Just static variables.
static variables.
Mhm.
Yeah, because that's weird. I'm like, okay, like if I wanted to make like a all notes, like I would store it somewhere outside the class, right?
Oh no, for me, when it comes to Swift, you want to put things that are not directly related to the class, but
Like a collection.
like no. So for example, let's say that I'm constructing a class student, and I want to know the count of the students. I would make a integer variable of all students within the class, but I would make it a static variable
Okay, I see. Like how many
because
of yourself has been created? Like,
yeah,
Okay.
how many student classes have
Student
been created.
Okay,
But and a reason why I would put it in that class is because it makes sense.
this makes sense.
I wouldn't put it in another class called all students or something like that.
Right.
Because I just wasted a class
Gotcha.
instead of just using a static variable.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Nice.
And was it ever run?
Oh, I haven't tried that.
Try it.
I was having trouble with my Twitter app where it said the API failed getting the tweets when I was trying to refresh it. But I followed the exact code on the
Where was it at?
right here, so
Mhm.
so the initial works I do gets the first 20 tweets and then the infinite scroll. Oh yeah, see on this one.
Can I retrieve tweets?
Yeah.
Where does that function at?
This is right here, the initial load tweets.
Load tweets. VPN client.
And then make sure the URL is correct.
I think it's because of this error right here. Implicitly coerced string to string any. So this function, where is it calling it? Which one is calling this one?
The view did load.
The view did load.
Yeah, right.
You're calling the
Startup.
for the refresh control, right?
Mhm.
So the refresh control is calling the load tweets, and you load it at first.
Yeah. Or this should be load more tweets maybe? Because there's also a method, a function with this.
There's you add the infinite scrolling, right?
Yeah, but it didn't work.
So if I refresh it, okay. Oh, this is why, because you're getting a optional.
Mhm.
So you need to convert your count. Where's the count?
Count would be right here, number two.
Oh, number of tweets. You're using this one?
Yeah.
Okay. But then where does it print it out? The where it says count. Oh, right here. Load more tweets.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so it's calling it from this one. So what's happening is that your function, you have to unwrap it, force unwrap it.
Okay,
Which so the one that you
extension.
it should be this one, yeah.
Gotcha.
Same with this one because
Some
you're
people
calling
have not-
an optional function, but since you know that this function exists, you gotta force it to like
Okay.
retrieve all the tweets.
Gotcha.
And this is what okay, so you're adding it to your tweet variable over here, right?
Yes.
This tweet array,
Between
tweet dictionary. You're appending the tweet. Self dot tweet. Okay, let's try it out this time. It could be because Is your user always logged in now?
Yes. But
Okay, so it's persisted, right?
Yeah.
Let me try logging in. But every time you log in for the first time, does it work?
Yeah. Or it's like spotty. Sometimes it does.
Something it doesn't. Oh, interesting.
If you have a
It
good
has to
question, you
be.
can.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Let's give you one too.
Okay. I think it has to be something with the function. Where is the Twitter API client? Because you had to implement this function too, right?
No, they give it to us. Right here.
Well, they give it to you. You just have to implement it into your view development.
Yeah.
Okay. Where's my params? Right here. Count.
Yeah.
Number of tweets. Why did you give me here? Int, because it doesn't know that it's actually. What if I?
I'm listening by that too.
No, I don't think that's gonna fix it. 'Cause you already did that, right?
Yeah.
Before.
And the example.
Yeah, I just
They don't have that.
Yeah. I do know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. I don't want to forget.
Well, let's go through the logic.
For
So
the
these are
base,
basically the same functions, right?
oh, what time did you
Just
say?
adding 20 to the.
You're adding 20 more to the count. And number of tweets, it's an int.
Yeah.
Okay, you declare it right here. You say equal to 20. Let's do something. Let's declare right here. That's the
Yeah.
one. So we already know.
You separate.
Oh, it took out the error too.
For that too, we just upload file.
Do you think it'd be something with the API or?
Maybe. But
Is this one from just the lab two?
Oh, this is the lab.
.s one?
uh,
The rest
you don't
is
need
just
to
like-
end refreshing here because it's not really. Or what is the refresher?
The refresher
Oh, it's
is.
right there. That one. Right? Alright, man. You don't need it for your initial load tweets because it just loads them without showing you anything. I'll have to do it regardless. On the Twitter. Is yours working?
No.
Is yours working right now?
Yeah, mine worked. My.
Can we see
Oh yeah.
the Twitter one?
Oh wait, the Twitter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought of all the video tutorials they're done, but maybe I missed.
What does it remove all of them?
Remove so,
It removes everything?
Yeah, when you load more, it just keeps.
When you load more?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's okay. I see what you did. So it doesn't. If you go down, it won't load more. It'll just change, like
Yeah.
change the ones from the bottom, but it won't push it. Okay, makes sense. But that's for load more tweets. So in this one it's fine. Home timeline.json. Well, we can verify this if the URL is the one that.
I did. I double checked.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
In that case, let's print the error.
It seems to me like you're trying to send a
Because
string
we need to know what the heck.
to
What is the
a
actual
UI
error?
label.
So I'm just trying to get the text from.
So from what I remember is that this piece is like creating the cell, the note cell for us, right?
Mhm.
Instead of doing it in that one other piece, we're doing it in this piece right here.
Mhm.
Right here.
And so we have to assign something to these three,
Mhm.
right?
Client error.
And so
where's the actual error? Oh, client error. So it's let's go to Twitter's. They have their all documentation on what it means. 429. So Twitter.
is that has to do with the note cell because we're writing it inside the note cell.
429.
Interesting, because that's what I had. I have the most and
Too many requests. Okay.
most
Yeah,
of
you
this
reached
is
the
like-
limit.
Gotcha.
So it's because a lot of students have been using the API.
Oh, I did
So-
use it in last quarter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I made a project with Python Twitter. Okay. that
Oh
makes
okay.
sense.
But
Yeah.
that's the error.
Okay, so logic's
The logic is
Okay.
good. It's just that it reached the limit already of the API call.
damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Alex can be wise.
Note to due date. Oh, because you need to access the text of the label. So when you access the title, you need to access the label's text. And you're gonna force unwrap it too. Oh wait.
but don't you do this?
Oh, there's a note cell. My bad. Oh, but yeah, you set the. Oh,
Because I didn't do that. in that piece.
no, my bad. I was on the wrong page. This is a note cell.
Yeah.
To a UI label. Are they connected?
I don't know.
Oh, they don't appear.
Yeah.
They don't be.
Let's make sure that they're connected. Maybe it's something with the download, or maybe they are connected. So there's one way to check. You click on it, and you go to the connection inspector. Yeah, it's not connect. Oh, wait, it is. Never mind. So this one. Yeah, they're connected. Never mind. It just doesn't show it. In that case,
Building.
building.
Yeah, maybe try building.
Should I just
Yeah.
try erasing and connecting again?
No, because they're already connected now. Now they're
Oh.
connected.
It's like you just needed to
Oh,
refresh.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to build it.
Okay.
Every time that you finish adding some code, make sure to build it.
That's
Yeah,
one thing
there
that
you
I noticed about like Swift. Like you make some edits
Mhm.
and you're like, oh, it should be fixed, and it's like it's still there, and I'm just like, okay, like nah, it's
Is
just
that Swift is like really
slow to pick up their.
no, they're really horny for errors. Like
Yeah.
they're like, oh, you got an error. Oh, fix it. Like
Yeah.
they just want to know, let you know.
Yeah,
But
so
then you gotta calm them down by building.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
Okay.
every time I do it, I just like I save and then build and then try to run.
And then it works.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I just want to make sure if I get the logic. So here you just
What
create the
happened with
node
the
class.
Twitter one?
So
I had-
Too many.
add it,
I pulled too many requests because
Ah.
last quarter they're 2A. I used
Yep.
Python Twitter
and
for a
then
project.
you make
Mhm.
the
And I was-
identity
I was
so
pulling all
you
of
get
this.
all the
Okay.
information.
What project
And
for
you're
32A?
using
Yeah, we
this
32A they wanted to do
to
a
like put in the information.
in Python. We
Yeah,
just
just
are
add
able
to
to
the
do
notes
stuff like this.
to an array.
Make a tweet.
Okay.
and send
So
it to
you know
get
how
your-
back then we would have an array
Yeah,
on
it's
top
pretty
here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I was
We're no
our
longer
first-
doing that.
Or my first
That array, we
yes.
moved it essentially. We moved
I
it here
remember I also
because it
did
makes sense.
in 32.
It makes sense to store all
man,
notes
this is-
in
No,
the
we don't
note
have
record.
that.
I've heard.
But
I've heard
it's
that
like
math
global
is-
variables.
is-
So you can use it in another
We had
class.
this new professor. We didn't have who did you have?
Thornton.
Yeah, we didn't have Thornton. We had this new professor from what's it called? Fullerton?
Was it she?
Yes.
Oh,
Kim.
okay. I
She was
heard
like the biggest
safe
clown
button. All it does is
ever.
that.
She didn't know what she's
I
doing.
was looking for the
Really?
code.
So the course is basically just like
Okay.
pre-made.
Essentially, what this is
Oh
doing
my God.
is you're grabbing
She's
all
so
the text,
stressed.
you build a
She
note
do demos on the
using that information,
the projector.
I had
and
the
you add that note.
I had the Godfathers of all ICS
Display
33.
Oh my
I
God.
had did you hear about
So you're adding on to
for
that.
30?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no,
Okay.
you
This
did
is what
32.
adds to your
Yeah.
Okay.
I started at 31.
Okay.
And I had
And
a
then-
professor, David
Yeah,
K.
and you just display them on your notes
He's
view
like
controller.
legit the OG Godfather.
OG?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll
How
get
does
confusing,
that
but later
happen?
on,
This guy
this
seems
is
like a
how,
god master.
Oh yeah, he's been here.
this is
forever.
how most projects are
And then
set
I
up.
had a
So you have everything
So,
separated
classes
because remember how we had the,
do in one line.
if we were still
He's like,
coding
wait,
the way we
you
were
know,
doing
like-
place, this would be a big giant
Comprehension.
file,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
But
At
we're
first I was
starting,
like, yo,
we're
this
starting
sucks.
to, I'm starting to teach you guys how to do more professional coding. So you have everything in the file. Make sure you organize, make sure you organize the crap out of your folders. If
He's
you
a
don't,
really good
Yes,
It's
professor.
gonna be messy, yeah.
30 series. I think
I
I
had a
don't
question
remember right
on
now
Twitter
for
thing. I
45,
was trying to
46.
do
I
some,
said
like,
46.
Oh, what year are you?
Second year.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so right now,
So like,
so like I
say
went through like 32.
I did them separately.
I started at 31.
This one I
32,
tried
33.
like,
For a tip.
when it clicks the tweet,
Um,
it like
But
should show you the
I
comments.
could have had Gordon
But like mine would only
last
show
quarter
the empty
for 45
thing, it would
seats,
just show count.
but
it'll show the count.
this class
Yeah, so
formed
like
up,
you-
and so I had to take class that. I took class that.
Oh, you want to show the comments, but it shows you the count, the
Yeah.
amount of comments.
Yeah, like right here. Yeah.
Oh,
At least I
okay, let me
think
see.
I
There's
Or
more
you
work,
think it does?
not more work,
Let me see.
like for yourself to be learning than Thornton. Like Thornton, you go to his lectures. you feel like he's guiding you the way.
Mhm.
But with Assad, like, it's kind of not
Oh,
the
dude,
same.
Clef
Nothing to
is.
say.
Oh.
I have that. Hey, when
Just
we
say
go-
yes.
Yeah, I have that when we go.
Oh yeah, with for 40.
Oh yeah.
For what do you have him for?
46, 45.
45. Oh yeah, for 45C. Yeah.
And then like that sucks because like Thornton is a really good 32 professor.
Mhm.
He's a really awesome professor for 32.
He's not teaching it.
He says.
No, well, not for
Whoa,
last
when he
quarter.
took it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Dang. Wait, what did you guys learn then?
I think it's everything the same. It's just like.
No, she like changed up some projects and
Yeah.
made it easier. We didn't have to worry about servers or clients or anything.
Wow.
We just did this Minesweeper game that you built in the console.
You made a Minesweeper game?
Yeah.
That's still pretty cool. But.
Are you talking about slow hacks?
Othello.
Othello.
I went there too.
Oh yeah.
I got gypped, you know,
You guys.
because I didn't know that you should worry about fancy stuff.
Dude, you always work. That's why you always get a graphic designer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just mock-ups.
We didn't know how to do HTML either.
Oh.
So, because
the thing.
the
Chase-
second overall place had the same exact backend as us,
Really?
and they just made a website and a fancy conveyor belt that demoed,
Oh.
and we were just sitting at the table like, goddamn.
Yeah.
Same
No.
exact algorithm, same. Oh my god.
I mean, I've only gone to 2 hackathons before. I'm not going to again because it's not my thing. I feel like I don't get stuff done. But the thing that I do remember the most is like a lot of people like don't focus on the nitty-gritty. Like think of your idea,
Yeah.
do some sketches, mock-ups, but actually put it like something that's presentable, like he said, and then later try to do some code,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We just worried about the code.
You don't want to just focus on code and not be able to present something. Like the idea of going to a hackathon is like you could sell your idea. You know, you have your idea, you
Yeah.
sell it, you present it, and be like, oh yeah, like we could keep doing this by in the future adding more stuff and whatever. But yeah,
But I mean, it
it's
can
a lot
go.
of pressure for me.
Yeah, it all depends on what you want to get out of it. Do you want to learn? Then actually do something.
I
If
did
you,
learn a lot.
Yeah.
I used the Google Cloud Vision API. And
Oh, you use that? Oh
It's really
shoot.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for me, I
You
feel
didn't use
like,
the iOS one?
No, we're scared to do doing iOS because
Really?
my part, I was a two-partner team, 2-person team.
Because
And
I made
also-
one.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's a text detector. So if you like, I don't have my
Oh,
iPad.
sick.
Oh,
But yeah,
you
it detects the text that you
dude,
type up.
I've wanted to work on something. Make
Yeah?
it open source so I can do something.
It's on my GitHub. You can download it.
Yeah?
On a Teach iOS. Yeah.
For iOS?
No, Teach iOS folder. So if you go on my GitHub, it's
Mhm.
on Teach iOS. I made a text detector.
I was scared that I was gonna get stuck on something
You know,
in iOS because I knew Python more.
Oh.
You know
okay.
why that's useful? Some
Why?
people like don't want to type out like a tiny URL. You could just point it and like it should just like pop up. Like when you scan the
Oh.
QR code,
But instead, it reads the link.
yeah,
It
it reads
pops
the
up.
links and it pops
Here's the
up.
thing, it's hard to use Apple's Vision because I tried looking up how to make if there's any like framework that allows you to actually print out the text. Because the only thing it does is just detects the text.
Okay.
That's all it does. It doesn't do anything else. It highlights in blue boxes words, and in red each little box is the character. It does that well, but like that's it. That's
Maybe
kinda
just
useless.
Maybe save it and then store that.
that's
data.
how I want it. That's what I want to do, but
Okay.
I don't know how to do that.
Okay.
The tutorial goes so far. I think that's where the companies come in, where they try to
Oh.
do that heavy duty stuff. But if you figure it out, dude, you're hired.
Alright, thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
Tech committee tomorrow.
Yeah, are you
Me
going?
and Francisco are gonna be leading.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm a shadowy, bro.
Oh shoot.
Yeah,
Nice,
I'm a
dude.
shadowy. So
That's how you start.
Francisco's leading the whole tech committee.
Yeah.
But I'm just there kind of like watching behind the scene, like what is he doing, you know, so I could get a feel. You know, I've gone to the ship board member meetings and like they see me and like I try to understand, like I just take in information, right? Because like
Yeah.
I'm just a shadowy program. But like, who knows, man? Like
Dude,
hopefully
with this, you can even host your own tech committee session.
I know, dude. We wanna host people like who do stuff. So we might be asking you maybe to present something.
Yeah, I'm gonna go tomorrow.
Yeah.
What I want to do is I was thinking of
You know the times and where
You
it's
know
gonna
how-
be, right?
yeah.
Cross cultural.
Mhm.
The board.
I know where it is. I've
The
been there.
time.
8:30. Heck late.
I
But,
know it's late.
I can't go Thursdays because I have class at
Okay.
8. But this is my idea. I was thinking of next quarter, spring quarter.
Uh-huh.
There's no code path because they run on a semester system.
Okay.
So next quarter, have a group of like 6-7 people committed to learning web dev. There's already a free curriculum on Make School, which is where I learned iOS. You go to makeschool.com/academy,
Okay.
and they have 3 curriculums that are completely free: Intro to CS, iOS, and web dev. I've been doing the web dev because I want to learn how to do Node and
JS?
JS, Node.js and Express.js. So they teach you everything: how to make your own Reddit, how to make your own Rotten Potatoes for like a movie reviewer, how to make a game. Like it actually shows you everything, all the
Okay.
cool stuff.
So by the end, you'll know. So you know about npm stuff like that. That comes with like Node.js.
Yeah,
NPM?
I already know some
Okay.
because I started doing this.
Talk to Francisco.
I did
Yeah, about the website.
about the website. No,
Yeah.
about this.
No,
No, I know you guys were making a website.
Right, and it runs on Node.js.
Yeah, but
The
that's
new-
the thing. We gotta.
We need someone that
What
knows.
about next year? You know.
Exactly.
That's why we want to.
And
do
this is free?
Spring. Yeah, this is free.
Okay.
And this is completely free.
Makes cool. Okay.
So
Whoever's gonna pick up the website for next year, we're gonna link them to this because like
we're
looking
gonna do
for
it this
a-
quarter, so that way we can teach it fall quarter.
All right then, I'll be seeing you.
I'll keep you in touch, but let me get back to you. Sorry.
Alright.
Oh shoot, I didn't even logged out. Oh, never mind. So where's the comments?
So
See what's away?
I'm gonna click it. It should show a comment, and it shows that. So count 20.
That's supposed to be the comments.
Yeah.
Let me do it again and see if it prints it out. Okay. So it prints out something.
Mm-hmm.
So where's the function that gets the comments?
So this is just the
It takes the comment label.
and then I did it here from here. This is where I'm trying to get the comments, and I do kind of like the same logic as we did in the view controller with the API and like going through it, and then making the dictionary and then making it to comment the array.
Oh, okay. Fine.
Do you guys know if there's a restroom?
Left, forward, downstairs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ah, those are scary.
Yeah, it's a sketchy one. Yeah.
See it.
I'll see you. So this is the one that actually does all the backend stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I want to do is, I just want to print out the comments. So it prints them out here, right?
Yeah.
Wait, where does it actually print?
It doesn't print the comments. So
No, where does it print this? The count. Where is that printing?
I'm not sure.
Because when you call it on the comments table of yourself, do you call it? Does it print out here?
No.
Where the heck is it?
That's
Where I'm trying to. Yeah, that's where I'm trying to understand. Because first we need to print out the comments to make sure that we're getting something,
Mm-hmm.
and then we put them on the label view and all that pretty stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But where is this function called? Is it called at the comments table view? No, it's not.
No, I call in the home when it gets clicked.
Oh, you want to show them right there. So you
Yeah.
want to show them the home also.
Yeah. So
Okay.
like right when the tweet gets clicked, it segues to the detail view.
Okay. So when it loads, then
I think it might be
on your home,
in my tweet view details controller.
oh, tweet details.
Yeah. So like.
It's also a table view. Okay.
And then
Load comments.
Yeah.
Okay, here it is.
Yeah, and then
And then
if you go down right here, so like the count and like the actual comments and stuff.
tweet detail. Okay. But where does it print the? Where does it print this? Print. No, just that.
That's why I had no print statements. I was like, okay, is this doing it automatically?
No, here there's a it's just errors. The error messages. Login. No. There's nothing here for sure. Huh. Well, for in this case, then let's just print out the comments array. And I'm just gonna print out something here saying loading comments. And once it finishes, self.reload table. This is where I print the. Oh yeah, I'll fix that later. I'll put comments loaded, reloading table.
Oh, it's just
Oh yeah,
running on
self. So I'm just printing out the comments, and if it even goes through the what's it called, the closure, which is a function inside this function
Mm.
method. Sorry.
Do you have to like stop and
No, you can just run it, and it'll automatically stop it. There. Let's see it.
Is it empty?
Yeah, it's empty, so it doesn't load anything. But it did go through here. It's inside the function, so we know it's loading stuff inside here. So, but this is what's going on. You're getting the URL, you're getting it from the statuses mentions timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So what we need to do is look up on the Twitter API. Are these the Twitter API?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to the reference for comments.
Yeah. Couldn't find it.
Okay, that's why. Yeah. Tweet timelines. Parameters.
I found it on Stack Overflow if you want. Like maybe.
Oh, Stack Overflow?
Yeah.
Yeah, show me. Whoops.
I remember. Yeah.
Oh, let me stop the recording. Shoot.
Right here.